My stepfather always claimed my biological dad was a failure, a man who abandoned us without a second thought. That narrative shaped my childhood until, at 17, I stumbled upon a secret that unraveled everything. While searching for my birth certificate in my stepfather's closet for college applications, I found a shoebox tucked behind old winter jackets. Inside were stacks of checks, each addressed to my mother, signed by Michael Reynolds, my real father, with child support noted in the memo. The oldest was dated just after my 5th birthday. The newest was from a week ago. Every check had been endorsed and cashed by my stepfather, Tom. My hands trembled as I tallied them. Over $90,000 in 12 years, money meant for my clothes, medical bills, or college fund. Money Tom had been siphoning while painting my dad as a deadbeat. "Never cared about you," Tom would say whenever I asked about my father. "Some men just aren't cut out to be parents." I grew up believing I was unwanted, that my dad had vanished without a trace. Tom positioned himself as the savior who took on another man's child out of pure kindness. But those checks proved my father had been supporting me all along. I snapped photos of every check, my pulse racing, and carefully returned the box to its hiding place. At dinner that night, Tom griped about finances again. "College costs a fortune," he said, eyeing me. "You might want to start at a community school." I stared at him, this man who'd stolen from me for over a decade while pretending we were scraping by. "What if I found another way to cover it?" I asked cautiously. "Like what? Your good-for-nothing dad suddenly stepping up?" Tom scoffed. "Don't get your hopes up." After dinner, I dialed the number on the latest check's return address. My fingers shook as the phone rang. "Hello?" The voice was unfamiliar but kind. "Is this Michael Reynolds?" I asked, a pause. "Who's this?" Ren Carter. I think you're my dad." A sharp intake of breath. "Ren. My God, is it really you? You know me?" His voice cracked. "I've been trying to reach you for 12 years. Your mom and Tom said you didn't want to see me." The world spun. "They said what?" "They told me you were better off with your new family, that reaching out would hurt you. They said if I loved you, I'd stay away." I couldn't catch my breath. "And the child support? Every month for 12 years, $800, sometimes extra for school or birthdays. I wanted to make sure you had what you needed, even if I couldn't be there." My vision blurred. Not only had Tom stolen my dad's money, but he'd also blocked us from each other. We agreed to meet the next day at a cafe far from home. I barely slept, reeling from a lifetime of lies. At the cafe, I recognized him instantly from old photos my grandma had kept. He was tall, with dark hair and eyes that mirrored mine. When he saw me, tears spilled down his face. "You look so much like your mom at your age," he said, hugging me like it was the most natural thing in the world. We talked for hours. He showed me photos of himself at my birthdays, holding gifts he'd tried to send, letters returned unopened. "I never missed your soccer games," he said softly. "I'd watch from the parking lot. Tom saw me once and threatened to call the cops. When I got home, Tom and Mom were waiting in the living room, Tom's face stormy. "Where were you?" he demanded. "At work," I lied, matching their years of deception. "Really? Because a friend saw you at the cafe with some guy," Mom said, her voice laced with worry. "Ren, who was it?" I took a deep breath. I'd planned to confront them slowly, gather more proof. But seeing Tom's controlling anger and Mom's false concern, I couldn't hold back. "I was with my dad," I said, their faces paled. Tom stood, knocking over his chair. "That's impossible. You don't even know how to find him." "Really? Because he's been trying to find me for 12 years. I pulled out my phone, showing them the check photos. $90,000 in child support you've been stealing while telling me he didn't care." Tom lunged for my phone, but I stepped back. "You little sneak," he growled. "You don't know what you're messing with." "I know exactly what I'm doing, exposing a 12-year con." The mask Tom wore as the selfless stepfather fell away, revealing the manipulator beneath. "You ungrateful brat," he spat. For the first time, I wasn't scared of him. "There you are," I said calmly. "The real Tom, the one who's been robbing a kid for years." Mom was crying, but I couldn't tell if it was guilt or shock. "Ren, we can explain," she whispered. "Explain this." I held up the photos. "Money meant for me for my future that you let him take," Tom's rage flared. "I used it for this family, our house, our bills." "You benefited. You used it for your boat, your bike, your fancy watches," I shot back. "Don't act like you were selfless." Mom's voice broke. "Tom said your dad was dangerous, that he'd hurt you." "And you believed him." "For 12 years?" I asked. "You let him erase my father from my life." The room felt like it was closing in. I thought of all the times Tom lectured me about responsibility, all the times he made me feel guilty for wanting things we couldn't afford. At 13, I'd begged for new sneakers because mine were falling apart. Tom had ranted about spoiled kids and hard work, then bought himself a $4,000 ATV. When my laptop broke sophomore year, he'd sighed about tight budgets and suggested I get a job. That same month, he'd splurged on a country club membership. Every struggle, every sacrifice was a lie. The money was there, my dad's money. Tom snapped, pulling me back to the moment. Your dad's a nobody who got your mom pregnant and bilayed. He's been sending $800 a month for 12 years. That's not bailing. You stole it. That money kept this family afloat, Tom said, as if he'd done me a favor. I earned it dealing with your attitude, your problems. You earned nothing, I said. You stole my dad's money and kept him from me. Mom finally spoke up. Tom said your dad had anger issues, that he'd hurt you like he hurt me. Hurt you how? I pressed. Because Dad told me you two just drifted apart after I was born. Mom's eyes dropped. We were young. He wanted to marry me when I got pregnant, but I wasn't ready. I wanted to finish school. He got intense. Calling all the time, showing up at my classes, talking about our future. When I asked for space, he couldn't handle it. I thought of the man I'd met, patient, warm, waiting 12 years for me. That doesn't sound dangerous. That sounds like a kid trying to do right by his family. Mom admitted. But Tom said he'd never change, that he'd be controlling forever. When I met Tom, he was steady, mature, everything your dad wasn't. You let Tom block every letter, every call, every gift Dad sent, I asked. You let him steal my money and tell me I was unwanted. Mom's voice cracked. I thought I was protecting you. You protected yourself, I said. It was easier to let Tom control everything than face a messy custody fight. The truth hit me like a wave. This wasn't just about stolen money. It was about Tom erasing my dad to play the hero. Every Father's Day card I'd made for Tom, every time people praised him for raising me, every moment I'd felt grateful for him. It was all built on lies. Tom stepped closer, his voice low and menacing. You're going to drop this now. You'll block his number and never see him again, or what? I stood tall, no longer the scared kid who shrank when he yelled. You'll intimidate me. That's what this is about, control. Tom had never hit me, but his looming presence, his sharp tone, his veiled threats had always made me back down. Not anymore. I raised you, he said. I provided for you. My dad's money, I replied. Money you stole. The doorbell rang and Tom froze. I texted my dad during the argument, sharing my location. I opened the door and there he was with a lawyer, Mr. Ellis, beside him. We're here to discuss stolen funds and custody, Dad said calmly. Tom tried to slam the door, but Dad blocked it. We can do this civilly or through the courts, Mr. Ellis said, holding a briefcase. But we're resolving it today. The next hours were a storm of documents and accusations. Mr. Ellis outlined Tom's crimes. Fraud, forgery, theft, parental alienation. The evidence was undeniable, but the revelations grew darker. Tom didn't just cash checks, Mr. Ellis said, opening a folder. He impersonated your mother in emails to your father, saying you didn't want contact. Dad showed us texts from Mom's number, cold replies to his birthday messages, rejections of his offers to attend my events. I thought you hated me, Dad told Mom. I thought you wanted me gone. I didn't send those, Mom whispered. Tom had access to my phone, my email. Tom's face tightened. I did what was best for our family. You isolated my daughter from me, Dad said. You built a wall between us. Ellis laid out Tom's options. Repay the money and agree to custody changes or face criminal charges. How much? Mom asked. The child support, a college fund from your late father, plus interest. About $120,000, Mr. Ellis said. Tom's bravado crumbled. We don't have that, he said. Then sell your toys, Dad said. The boat, the bike, the watches, maybe the house. This is my home, Tom protested. Built with my daughter's money, Dad replied. My grandmother arrived mid-argument, her face darkening as I told her everything. You're a liar and a thief, she told Tom. Then she dropped another bombshell. Your grandfather left you a $25,000 college fund. I gave it to your mom when you turned 16. My stomach sank. What happened to it? Mom looked at Tom. He said he invested it. Invested where? Grandma demanded. Tom muttered about stocks. You spent it, Grandma said, her voice like steel. Just like the child support. The betrayal cut deeper. Not just my dad's money, but my grandfather's too, gone. Tom had stolen my future while preaching about sacrifice. Pack your things, Grandma told me. You're staying with me? Tom blocked the stairs. She's not leaving. The doorbell rang again, Dad and Mr. Ellis. The negotiations stretched late. Tom agreed to repay what he could and set up a payment plan to avoid charges. I'd spend weekends with Dad with open contact. Mom would attend therapy to address her role in the lies. As we left, Tom grabbed my arm. "You've torn this family apart," he hissed. "You broke it long ago," I said. "I just exposed it. At Grandma's, Dad and I talked." "I'm sorry," he said, tears in his eyes. "I should have fought harder." "You tried," I said. "That's more than I knew for 12 years. The weeks that followed were a blur." Tom moved out, taking only his car and clothes. The house was sold to cover what he owed. Mom rented a small apartment and started therapy, realizing Tom had controlled her life too, her money, her friends, her choices. "I didn't see how trapped I was," she admitted in therapy. "He made it feel like love." Dad and I rebuilt our bond. He showed me photos he'd taken from afar at my school events, programs from plays he'd watched in secret. "I was at your science fair," he said, pointing to a picture of me with my solar system model. "You were so excited when it lit up." "I looked for you," I said. "Tom told me you didn't care." "I cared about everything," he said. "Every moment." The legal battle took a year. Tom sold his boat, bike, and watches to repay most of what he owed. He moved away, working a low-paying job. Mom and Dad became civil co-parents, working through years of pain. In therapy, meeting Tom alone months later, he looked worn down. "I thought I was protecting you," he said. "Your dad would have let you down." "You made that choice for me," I said. "You controlled me, not raised me." "I loved you," he said, tears falling. "Love respects," I replied. "Yours possessed." I graduated college with a degree in family law, driven to help kids in custody battles. Dad, Mom, Grandma, and my new stepfamily, Dad's wife, Lisa, and half-sister, Emma, were there cheering. Tom sent a card. I returned it unopened. Years later, I married. Dad walked me down the aisle with Emma and Mom in the front row. Tom sent a gift, a clock with a note saying he hoped I'd remember him. I sent it back. His gifts always had strings. Tom was later arrested for fraud again. Some patterns never break, but I did. I broke the cycle of lies and control. My kids will grow up knowing all who love them, never forced to choose. They'll know love empowers, not possesses. Dad fought for me for 12 years and love won. Not the controlling kind Tom offered, but the real kind, patient, trusting, enduring. Tom tried to erase my dad, but love was stronger than his lies. That's the truth that matters most.